All right, we got a pretty long daf today, but I just want to go through it quickly. It's Erev Shabbos, and it's late. Hopefully this will be up before Shabbos, and people have time to learn it before Shabbos. So, Maishna Morius Rebbe Meir Dasabanua. And just a question about Morius, about this fish guts stuff. So, So there in the Morius you taste the wine, but with the preserves you don't really. It's not liquidy, so it might be a different issue. All right, we'll go weiter. I'm not going to discuss this now. V'taris v'trufa v'tzirshin b'daga. So it says minced taris and the brine that doesn't have a kilbus fish swimming in it in the chilak. My chilak, what's a chilak? It sounds like something from Doctor Who or something. No, I'm Rav Nachman bar Abba Rav Zu Sultanis. The chilak is a sultanis, which is a fish that only has fins and scales once it grows up. And the reason why you can only buy it from someone Jewish, the chilak fish, is because there is a non-kosher fish that looks just like it, and you don't know the difference, and they live together. So the only way, even though the chilak fish is kosher, the sultanis fish is kosher, some say it's a type of tuna. Because it looks similar, you can't to a non-kosher fish. That's why you can't. You have to only buy it from a reliable place with a hechsher. So it's non taner rabbanan ein lo yachshav asid legadol acher zman kegoin sultanis ve'afetz ha'izeh mutter yesh lo yachshav asid lashir v'shasholam in yam kegoin akudnas v'funas kat siftias v'untas mutter. So the Gemara just explains different types of fish. These are the Persian names or the Greek names of the fish, whatever it is. Certain fish, if they don't have fins and scales, but when they grow up, they will. So even before they grow the fins and scales, they are kosher. And so too, a fish that has fins and scales, but sheds the scales when you take them up, and it lists these types of fish, also are kosher, even though they don't at the time have fins and scales. Even at any time in their life cycle, they have fish and scales. If they have fins and scales, they're kosher. Weiter, achriz Rebbe Abba Kisari, kividagam baran when anan mikol adam cheskasan einen boim al mipilusa v'aspamia. So he said the fatty innards of fish and their eggs could be bought from any person. Meaning you don't know in Caesarea, because in Caesarea they only bring fish from Pelusa and Aspamia where they don't have non-kosher fish. So even though so there in Caesarea, in Caesarea, in Caesarea, you were allowed to have any type of fish items, even if you can't recognize what type of fish they are, and they're kosher to eat because they are always, because that's where they're coming from a place where there's only kosher fish. Kodamar Baya Haitzach Chanta Devav Nahar Sharya. Abaya said that Tzachanta fish, which comes from the Bav River, is kosher because that river doesn't have non-kosher fish. And those, Rashi says that the Tzachanta is the same as the Chilak, as this fish that as a baby doesn't have scales or fins and grows to have it. My time alemim shum dredife maya v'haydog tame kaven the leis leichut hashidra beduchte der dife maya lematze koi voka chazina de koi. So you're going to say that the reason of the Bav River is because it's very strong currents, and that the invertebrates, they don't have a spine, they can't survive. In the non-kosher fish don't have a spine, so they can't survive in strong waters, but they do survive in strong waters. So what's the reason? Are you, maybe it's because it's a salty river, and since it doesn't have scales to protect it, can't live in salty water. But no, there are fish like this in salty water. So he said, rather because the silt bed of this river doesn't promote the development of these non-kosher fish. And that's why you assume only kosher fish grow there. Ravina, Edna de Kashavche Benahar Goizanar Gamda Asire. But Ravina said that was in the times of Abaya. But these days, because other rivers, Goiza and Gamda, go in there and mix with the waters of this river, of the Bav River, so then they have non-kosher fish there now, and it's so no longer can you just assume every fish that comes from there is kosher. Merbaya hai chamar de yamashare, tur de yamasir, samach tame tar tame. Baya talks about other types of fish. They have there's a fish called a sea donkey. I don't know what kind of fish that is, which is kosher, and there's a sea ox, which is not kosher, and you can remember this with a mnemonic device that the non-kosher, the fish that has a non-kosher name is kosher, and the fish that has the kosher name is not kosher. So Amarav Ashi Shvarnuna Shari Kadash Nuna Aser Samanach Kodesh Lashem. There's a fish called Shvar, and that's kosher, and there's a fish called Kadash, which is not kosher, and you say Kodesh Lashem is how you can remember, because Kadash sounds like Kodesh. It means that it belongs only to God, and you cannot eat it. Some say that the fish that's not kosher is the kvar. The kvar nuna. Nuna means fish. All of these. That the Aramaic word nuna means fish. And the kvar nuna is not kosher because it's like a grave, like a pagan grave. The grave is tamei. And but not tumas ohel. So that's why we say kivrei akum. Bekive kulaginzak. I to the kameo nuna da havu dame lichipusha. Chapi bedeluka. Chaza be kalfe v'sharye. So Rabbi Kiva went to a place called Ginzak, and they brought him a fish, and it looked like a non-kosher fish called chipusha. He put a basket over the fish, and the fish started moving around. And when he opened the basket, he saw there were little scales on the walls of the basket. So he said that this fish has scales, so it's not the chipusha, it is a kosher fish. Ashi klura the Tarmduria. If Ashi came to a place called Tarmduria, he brought him a fish that looked like an eel. Eels are not kosher because they don't have scales. Naktala da Yoma, Chaza da Hava beit Simchi v'Sharye. So he held up to the sun and he saw some little things growing on it which seemed to be scales, and he said it's kosher. Ashiklu aser vaitel kami nuna. Havadam l'shfarnuna. So Rashi went to another place. He brought him a fish that looked like the shfarnuna. Chapi b'mishchlei chivare chaze bekalfi v'shari. So even though it looked like a kosher type of fish, he's still covered with a white bowl, so you could see the black scales and say it's indeed kosher. So that shows that even if it's something that you assume is kosher, the one that you assume is not kosher, you can look and try to find the scales, and then it's good. And then the one that's even the one that looks kosher, it would seem what we're saying here is you still have to check it for scales. Rabbi Chana went to a place called Akar da Agma. Krivule Tzachanta. They brought him Tzachanta, which is a kosher fish. May Mugav da Haver Krele Bate. Because he heard someone call the fish Bate. Now Tzachanta is a kosher fish, and Bate is not a kosher fish. It's a non-kosher fish. Amar Deka Krele Bate. Shemadav Tame Yisbe. Leachal Mine. Letzafra Ayin Be. Ashkach Be Davar Tame. Kernavshe Le Yuna Letzadek Al Oven. So Rabbi Barchana said, if you're calling it by a non-kosher name, there must be something not kosher in it. And what he found, because it's a lot of small fish together, he found there were non-kosher fish mixed together with the kosher fish. So that's why he didn't eat it, and he was happy. He said that's what it says in Proverbs 12:21, that no evil shall befall the righteous, which means to say that God protects righteous people from sin. So we see the concept of grace in Judaism, that God helps us to keep the mitzvos when we're faithful to Him, without needing any intermediaries. Weiter, another thing that from a pagan that you're not allowed to eat, or really from any, these laws apply really to any non-Jew, not just to pagans, as opposed to other laws only apply to pagans. Defining what items are kosher here, we say a kerchel chiltis grain, my taima, mshmafske le besakina, v'gav dom amar noisen tam of gamuter, agav chorfe de chiltisa, v'chalia leshem nusa, v'hav le kneisen tam l'shevach v'aser. So, chiltis grains cannot be eaten, because if it's cut with a non-kosher knife, chiltis is an item which is fatty. No, I mean it's sharp rather, and the knife might have some fat left on it, some oil from the non-kosher items, and the sharpness together with the oil, together with the knife cutting it, makes the flavor stronger. And so therefore, even if it's, generally we say a non-kosher flavor that lost its flavor, that's in a non-kosher utensil, according to one opinion, it's actually kosher. However, this didn't lose its flavor. This maintains its flavor, and it actually the flavor, it tastes good. So after Rebbe Levi have a kabazav and chiltisa, can a chnafsh Rebbe Levi also the coming to Rebbe Yochanan Malay Mao Mizbun Minei Amlahu Avdei Shel Chaver Hayu Kachaver. So Levi had a servant who would sell chiltis, and when Levi passed away, they asked Rabbi Yochanan, "Can we still buy chiltis from him? Or is he trustworthy?" He was Jewish, but where was he buying from? Is he buying from a kosher source? So Rabbi Yochanan says that the servant of a person you can rely on is reliable himself. He's a chaver. He's part of our society. Rav Huna bar Mamnume zaven techelte me anshe de weise der Rav Amram Chasida. Rav Huna bar Mamnume would buy techelos dye, which we learn about in this week's parsha. The wife of Rav Amram the pious. Also the kameder of Yosef lehava b'day. They asked Rav Yosef if this is the proper techelos. Techelos is a very expensive dye, and you have to make sure it's really techelos and not indigo. Although there's some machlekes about that as to whether or not this issue was really an issue, but it seems that we are strict like this. Lahavi de pagube chanan chayata amale Yosef anya manale dida have uvda. The zavine techelte me answer the vase Rav na achud Rabbi Chia bar Abba vasela kamei Rav Masna have yode asai lekamed Rav Yehuda hagronia amlina falt liad hachyam shmuel eishes chaver hari kechaver. So we want to make sure that it was real tchelis. So he said, "You're not going to have an answer from Rav Yosef because he's too poor. When is he ever buying tchelis? But I bought techelis from the wife of another brother of Chia bar Abba, and I asked Rav Masna, he didn't know what to do. So I asked Rav Yehuda from Agronia, and he said, why do you need me? Look, you need me now. You have your own Rebbe. You fell into my hands." So he said, Shmuel taught Eishes chaver kechaver, that the wife of a chaver is like a chaver. So therefore, she is trustworthy because her husband's trustworthy. You have a brisa that actually says that the chaver's wife is like a chaver. Avdei shel chaver hari chaver. The servant of a chaver is like a chaver. Chaver shemeis, ish tevanav v'nei beisai hari behin b'chazkasan. If a chaver died, his wife and children, his household, remain to that you assume that they are pious ad shechashtu, until there's some suspicion. So to a courtyard where they sell tchelis is presumed to be reliable until you find out that they are actually unreliable. A story of Eishes Chaver Kechaver that became Choshid and the Ishta Ivanov. And there was a Yid in Richmond, Virginia, passed away in the 20s or the 30s. They're about probably in the 30s. His name was Reverend Marvin Goldman, I believe was his name. He was a sheichet and an ehrlich Yid. And the shochtim, they would give them an honorific title of reverend. More often said that still today, among Jews, we should give a title reverend. So, in any event, he was a firm Erlich Yid. He was buried in the Erlich Pesachayim and a Frum Cemetery, Sir Moses Montefiore Cemetery in Richmond. His wife and kids, when he passed away, they became Reformed. They went to a synagogue there, Beth Ahava, a Reformed synagogue, an old Reformed synagogue from Civil War era. They claim to be really from the colonial era, but they're not. they're they're actually. There was another synagogue that was not really from the colonial era, but from the early days. It was the sixth Jewish congregation, and when that folded, it more or less merged with Beth Ahava. That one was called Beth Shalom, the original congregation in Richmond, where Yisrael Ber Kershit was the Chazan, was the leader, and so was Reverend Isaac Leeser, was very famous. They both served there. But in any event, Beth Ahava is a Reformed temple, and the wife and children became Reformed. The wife passed away, and the children buried her in the Reformed cemetery, which is an interesting cemetery. They have their Civil War soldiers. They always brag that that's the only Jewish military cemetery outside of Israel. There's a certain section in the Beth Ahava cemetery where they have Civil War Confederate soldiers who really from all over the South. They were buried there because they didn't want it wasn't so much that they were so frum that they wanted to be buried in a Jewish cemetery. It was that a lot of the Southerners didn't want Jews buried next to them. Really, the Democrats in the South, were very racist, as the Democrat Party is till today. And in any event, so it went to court before a Gentile judge to judge, because the children requested that their father's body should be exhumed and buried next to their mother at the Beth Ahava cemetery. So the Rav in Richmond at the time was Yecheskel Podbelevich, a Yid from the Alta Haim, a Choshev Yid, and Rabbi Cheskel testified, as did a Rav, also an Orthodox rabbi from from Petersburg, Virginia, and they said in Shulchan Aruch, it says, the Code of Jewish Law, it says that we're not allowed to exhume a husband to bury next to a wife. We're only allowed to exhume a wife to bury next to a husband. So she could stay where she is, or she could be moved to her husband's, but he can't be moved to the wife. And they said the Code of Jewish Law, Shulchan Aruch, is based on the Talmud, which is based on the Bible. And so that's where it gets it has where to have a source, where to have what to rely on. It bears weight because it's sourced in the Bible. So then they had a Reform rabbi, I don't remember his name, Maximilian something, from Beth Ahava. He got up and testified that no, they should move the husband over to be next to his wife, because we, the Reformed Jews, have long repudiated the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, just like the Protestants repudiated Catholicism. So then the judge says, oh, I have my answer here. If someone would request me to move someone from a Catholic cemetery to a Protestant cemetery, I would not do it. And since the Reform rabbi made me aware that the difference between Orthodox Jews and Reform Jews is like the difference between Catholics and Protestants, I'm not going to move him. And Ad Hayom, the Sheikhet, Mr. Goldman, Reverend Goldman, is still buried there at Sir Moses Cemetery. And I saw his kever there, and I remember even some of his mishpacha, they're still buried there by Sir Moses, and they have membership by KBI, by Knesset Beth Israel, which Sir Moses, the congregation, Sir Moses Montefiore's congregation, merged with another synagogue to form Beth Israel. And then they merge with Knesset Israel, and that's how you have Knesset Beth Israel. So anyway, but the point was that's what they have in Richmond. But just a little more what I want to say about that. So the so there you see that there someone is Eishes Chaver, she's Eishes Chaver until there's she loses a chazaka, until there's a chashad. She has a chazaka until there's a chashad. So once she went to the reform, there's already a chashad. Taner Rabbanan. So you have another brisa. Taner Rabbanan. Eishes ama arch nisis l'chaver chen biter shel ama arch nisis l'chaver chen avda shel ama arch nimka l'chaver kun tzrichen l'kabel divrei chaverus. Avleishes chaver shenisis l'ama aretz v'chen biter shel chaver shenisis l'ama aretz chen avda shel chaver shenimka l'ama aretz einan tzrichen l'kabel divrei chaverus l'chatchila. Divrei Rabbi Meir. So Meir, his opinion is like this: if someone comes, whether a wife, a child, or a slave, or a servant of someone who's not a chaver, an ama aretz, a simple person, ignorant person, a person who's not reliable, and then they have they marry a chaver, they have to formally accept upon themselves chaverus. But the wife of a chaver, or a daughter who marries Amaretz, or a daughter of a chaver marries Amaretz, or a servant of a chaver is sold to Amaretz, they don't have to accept chaveris. They're still chaverim. That's Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda av hein tzrichen l'kabel divrei chaveris l'chatchila. But Rabbi Yehuda says no, they do have to make a formal acceptance of chaveris. V'chein hay Rabbi Shimon Elazar Eimer ma'asav ish achash nisis l'chaver v'haisu kesheres le'tfilin al yadai nisis l'moiches v'haisu kesheres le'kishrim moiches al yadai. Because there's a woman who was married to a chaver, and she would tie the tefillin for him on his hand. And the or some say that Bashash seems to say that someone say that she actually put on tefillin, and then she left the first husband, or he died, or whatever. She married a tax collector. We know in the Second Temple times, those were the worst people, were the tax collectors. And the tax collector is assumed to be an Amma Aretz. So the tax collector comes in, there's an assumption of Tumah. So she would tie the tax receipts on his hand, or through him. She would go and extort money from them, things from when in guise of collecting taxes. Amar Rav Chavis Aser b'chaisim echad cham pag mutter b'chaisim echad. So he said there are 4 things which could stand for chavis, that you need 2 seals to ensure that they're really kosher. And there are 4 things that we stand for champag, which are kosher with only 1 seal. So the first one is chavis, is chalav, basar, yain, techelis. Meat, milk, meat, wine, and blue dye from Techelis, from the Chilazon, those require 2 seals. If you send them with a pagan and you only have 1 seal, it's not kosher enough. You need a double seal. Chiltus Morius Pask Vina Muturn B'choisem Echad. But the 4 things that stand for Champag, which are Chiltus and Morius, which we spoke about, and bread and cheese, those are kosher with just 1 seal. We're on Amud Beis. Pasl Mainechushla. What are we even worried about bread? Mishuma Chalufe? Are we worried that they're going to switch out the bread? People know the difference between old bread and new bread. People know the difference between wheat bread and barley bread. And to the pagan, there's no more value between Pas Yisrael and Pas Palter. It's not that much, more expensive. In fact, sometimes the Pas Yisrael bread is the same price, sometimes even cheaper. Sometimes, so Pas Yisrael, Cholav Yisrael makes it more expensive, but it's not that much more expensive that you're gonna switch it off. V'rav Mashnag Vina Loy Terchem Mezayef Cholav Nam Loy Terchem Mezayef. So Rav said if cheese is not gonna forge, why about milk? Why don't we trust 1 seal with milk? Amar Kahana, Apik Cholav, V'al Chesiches Dog Shein B'Simen. So Rav Kahana said, you're right. Milk only needs 1 seal. What needs 2 seals is a piece of fish that doesn't have the scales on it. So you don't know what type of fish it is. It's like a fillet that the skin was already taken off. So hainu basar. So then fish is the same like meat. Trei gavnei basar. No, there are 2 types of meat. Meat we included. So why do you have to have meat and fish? It's because meat and fish are different. Shmuel said bias asa b'chosim echad, machag mutter b'chosim echad. So Shmuel says there's only 3 things with each one. Bias is basi yain techelis, asun b'chosim echad, meat, wine, and techelis. Those 3 things you can't have only 1 seal. You have to have a double seal. Moris chiltis gvina mutar b'chosim echad, but moris chiltis and cheese, you can have 2. You can have only 1 seal. It's good enough. And he leaves out bread, and he leaves out milk. L'shmuel, chesikas dog she'ein simen hainu basar trei gavnei basar le'yamrinan. And Shmuel says that we do include fish in this, and fish is a type of meat as far as a mnemonic device in order to remember, because the whole purpose of this is in order to memorize things. So we want to make it easy. The rabbi said the Jewish stores in Syria, which was probably Syria, that area, you can't buy 6 items that stand for Yimach Machag. You can't even trust the Jews. Lo yain lemurias v'lo chalav. Yimach is wine, murias, and milk. And v'lo melech salkundris, v'lo chiltis, v'lo gvina. And salkundri and salt, and chiltis and cheese. But you can buy it if they have a good hechsher on it. You know that they're reliable. And all of those items, if you're a guest at someone's home and they feed you this, you could eat it. Messiah Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Damar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Shiger loy balabayis of mutter. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said also, if someone sends you a gift to your house, you can assume it's kosher. My timer. So why should you assume it's kosher? Balabayis like shavik ater v'achal yisura. V'chim mishager lei. Because the homeowner is not going to eat something not kosher and give you something kosher. So whatever he sends you is going to be kosher. Meaning, if it's someone who keeps kosher, you can buy it from him. Whereas in Syria, there's a lot of non-Jews there too, So even Jews are going to sell non-kosher items from their store, but they're not going to give from their house. There's another story from Richmond like that. There was a company in Richmond, was Paddow Ham. It's still around. A famous company in Richmond, Virginia. And it was owned by Orthodox Jews. I mean, it's against halacha to sell ham, so they weren't so frum, but they were essentially Orthodox Jews. So someone said, once called Mrs. Paddow, could you bring me over? Called in, they were neighbors with Paddow. I said, can you bring me over some ham from your store? I said, yeah. So they came to her house and asked for the ham. Said, oh, it's out in the car. I said, well, why is it in the car? He said, well, I don't bring that treif in my house. So that it's a true story. I heard this actually it was from a non-Jew in Richmond. He wanted to become a ger. We wanted to make him a ger. I know he chickened out in the end. But that's that's a story that I heard from a reliable source in Richmond. So you see, if someone's going to send a gift, they're going to send from their house, and it's kosher, even from the Paddow family. But if you're going to buy from their store, you know it's not kosher because Paddow hams, you know it's not kosher. Melech Salkundris, my Melech Salkundris. So we list here Salkundrian salt. What's Salkundrian salt? That's not kosher. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel Melech Shekol Salkundre Rome Ochlin Osa. It's the salt that some say salkundis or salkundris, different. They make a big block of salt and the bakers in Rome eat this salt. And how they make the blocks? By mixing fat from non-kosher fish. So Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis explain weiter. Melech salkundris shechayra asura levana muteris diver b'meir Yehuda imer levana asura shechayra muteris. Rabbi Yehuda ben Gamliel Mishum Rabbi Chanin ben Gamliel Aimer Zevizay Asura. So there's according to Rabbi Meir, the black Salkundrian salt is not kosher and the white salt is kosher, and Rabbi Yehuda said no, the white is not kosher and the black is kosher. And Rabbi Yehuda ben Gamliel said name Rabbi Chanin ben Gamliel that they're both not kosher. I remember Rabbi Chanan Rabbi Yechanan Divrei Levana Asura Kivrei Dagam Levanim Tameim or Evan Ba. Divrei Meshcher Asura Kivrei Dagam Shcherim Tameim or Evan Ba. Divrei Merzev Asura Zevzem or Evan Ba. So Rabbi Chanan and Rabbi Yechanan, if he thinks the white one's not kosher, it's because the guts of a non-kosher white fish are in there. The one who says the black ones are not kosher, it's because the black fish, but that's not kosher. And the one who says they're both not kosher is because they're both not kosher. They're both from not kosher fish. So Amar Rabbi Abba Mishum Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel Zakin Echad Haya B'Shchud Naseinu Shayim Achlik Paneh B'Shemin Chazer. Rabbi said, name of Chanina ben Gamliel, that there was an old pagan in their neighborhood, a Roman, who would coat the surface of this salt with pig lard. So that's why it's not kosher. So he said all these items, you can't eat them, but you're allowed to have benefit. So why do we say this? This is a chizki to be a dua. Yaki, Ustamim Rabbi Meir. So according to Chizkiah, when you know that there's wine, then it's not kosher. It's only when you don't know. And according to Yechanan, he disagrees. He says it's the morias and the cheese of Beis Yaki, which we remember had pagan elements in them. And the Mishnah itself is like Rabbi Meir, who says no. The food itself is not kosher to eat, but you can do business with it. And that's why there's nothing wrong with the Jews in Syria doing business with non-kosher items. Okay, now we're going to list the things that are kosher in our Mishnah. The following things are kosher to eat. And it goes without saying you're allowed to do business with them. Milk that a pagan milked and the Jew watched. Honey is kosher. And grape clusters, even when they're dripping. Some say there's honeycombs, even when they're dripping. And they're also not mukhshal tumah, which we discussed before, what it means hechshel tumah, that in order for something to be susceptible to become Levitically impure, it requires to become wet on purpose. Chiyutan. The Bible says when you put liquid on this or not, this liquid is not chiyutan. Kvashin ein darkon, says the seichen yain u'chaymetz. Preserves which generally don't have wine or wine vinegar ingredients in them. Tarsha and a trufa. And taras that's not mixed. V'sir sheyesh b'daga. Brine that has a little fish swimming in it. V'aloshal chiltis. Chiltis leaves, they're not cut. V'zei seiklus kois l'golgolin. Kegs of softened olives. Rabbi Yossi Omer shlach and asurin. If they have pits, they're ready to fall out. They're not kosher. Hachagavim, aboim, and a slula asurin. Grasshoppers from a shopkeep's basket are not kosher. Mina heftake mutarin, but they're for a storage area. They are kosher v'chein l'srum, and so too the distinction applies for truma, whether it's in a basket or in a storage area. And the Gemara will explain. So in our Gemara, let's try to get through this quickly because it's almost Shabbos. Tinal hadas on Rabbanan Yoshev Yisrael b'tzad edrei shel akum v'akum choylev lo yemevi lo yenechoishesh. We learn our mission. The rabbis taught in a brisa a Jew can sit by a pagan's herd, and the pagan can milk the animal and bring him, and he knows he's watching him being milked, so he knows even though the pagan milked the animal, he knows it's a kosher animal. Heichidami, what are we talking about here? So if it's a herd where there's no non-kosher animals there, so then of course it's kosher. But if there is a non-kosher animal in the herd, so why would it be good enough to sit next to the herd without watching it being milked? So the answer is so he said, even if there's a non-kosher animal in the herd, as long as the Jew is able to see him, even if he stands up, even if when he's sitting down he can't see him, it's good enough because he knows that the pagan knows that it doesn't have to be pagan. This could apply to any non-Jew actually. This is a little different than a lot of other laws we had earlier in the Masechta. Again, as long as he is worried that he's going to see them out, the same Kamash Malon Kevin the Kikoy Chazale or to say Maratas Flamarav Bay. So he said you might think that since when you're sitting, he can't see, he's going to mix in something not kosher. So he said, no. He's afraid enough that if he could stand, he could see it. And so, too, that's what a lot of the places rely on for Chalav Stam. And most kosher milk in America is not Chalav Yisrael. And it would seem, and according to Reb Moshe, it is Chalav Yisrael. And that's what it's good enough that we know that it could be watched, and it would seem that's a halacha. Of course, the Hasidim are careful because there's like Kabbalistic issues, but from a simple halacha, it seems that that Reb Moshe is correct. But he also says that a yeshiva should be machmir. Dvash without honey, dvash l'may nechushla. Mishum Eruve, Mr. Sari. Im Mishum b'shliakum, necha kumay shuchai. Im Mishum kliakum, there's a tam of gam hu mutter. Honey is always kosher, because you can't mix wine with it. That will destroy the honey. It's eaten raw, so you don't have to worry about bishalakum. And the dishes doesn't matter because it's nice and tamufkam. As long as for sure, as long as it hasn't been used for something else in 24 hours. The vanias afal pishim natfais mishum hechsher mashke. The grape clusters, even if they're dripping, are not subject to hechsher tumah. Mino boitzel agash shamayam huchshar, v'leimer lei huchshar. For the labor of Hillel Shammai. We have a brisa that seems to contradict this. If you harvesting grapes to bring to a wine press, you put them in a basket. The juice runs and makes it wet. The grapes are huchshel tumah according to Shammai, but not according to Hillel. But then Hillel heard this and he accepted Shammai's chumrah. Hasam kaboil mashke, achlei kaboil mashke. So the Gemara answers that is talking about where it's place of lagas. They're making wine, so you want it to be wet. Here is grapes. Grapes are not. You don't want them to be wet, and so it's not under kiyutan with Torah and trufa. Torah, it's not mixed. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught Eza he Torahs shena trufa. What's a Torah? It's not trufa. Kol it also sounds like Doctor Who, like TARDIS. T is just missing the D. I'm not a Whovian, so I don't know why I'm saying this. Kol sheroish v'shidra nikra. V'einot tzir sheyesh v'daga. Kol shekilbus achas v'shtei kilbias. If you can see the head and the spine of the fish, then it's not minced, and you know it's a kosher fish. It's not some kind of a shellfish. And the brine, if there's one or two kilbus fish swimming around, shatetis by just swimming around. Okay, that's where I'm gonna have to stop. It's Erev Shabbos. I can't go weiter. We're done with the daf. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment. All the best.